tell you the story of the craziest movie that never was, Funk City Heat. Coming hot on the heels of the tearaway success of their 1971 film Death Mark, producer-director duo Sly De Niro and Ryan De Palma of Jive City Pictures look set to conquer the world with their follow-up, Funk City Heat. They had an all-star cast, a soundtrack by the hottest band around, and momentum on their side. Everything pointed to greatness. Instead, what followed was one of the most spectacular implosions in movie history. Lawsuits, scandals, criminal charges. Funk City Heat proved to be too hot to handle. The 1970s were a time of radical change in Hollywood and across the global film industry. A new generation of filmmakers tore apart the old studio system and pushed cinema into darker, stranger territory. Composers experimented wildly, blending Italian experimental film music, jazz, rock, psychedelic blues, and acid culture into bold new soundtracks. Optimism faded, cynicism crept in, paranoia followed. De Niro and De Palma stood at the forefront of that shift with Death Mark, and success gave them the freedom to dream bigger. They secured a green light for Funk City Heat based on little more than an elevator pitch. No script, no plan, just bold ambition. The screenplay emerged from an infamous 3-day writing retreat in the Funkwood Hills, fueled by equal parts inspiration and chemical enthusiasm. What they produced would later be described as less a script than a spectacular warning sign. Legendary screenwriter Phil Schrader was brought in to shape the chaos into something filmable. Years later, he recalled receiving pages riddled with plot holes and spelling errors and commented that it seemed to be a cliché in search of a point. Trouble began immediately. Studio executives noticed striking similarities to other hit films of the era. Changes were demanded, promises were made, and then quietly ignored once cameras rolled. De Palma hid questionable footage from the studio, sometimes sending replacement reels shot for entirely different scenes. In an industry already flirting with rebellion, this pushed the boundary from daring into dangerous. Production itself became pure guerrilla chaos. Permits were skipped, streets weren't closed, high-speed chases unfolded in real traffic. One crash disrupted a funeral procession and added a charge as surreal as the film itself: desecration of a corpse. An unauthorized shoot inside a local strip club sparked a fight between star Steve McQueen and security, leaving a broken nose for McQueen and yet another lawsuit. And that was just during filming. After production wrapped, the high-profile cast sued for non-payment, igniting a media circus filled with allegations of deception, coercion, and contracts that seemed to be pulled from a fever dream. Hey, it was the 70s, you know the vibe. Then, the script leaked. Major U.S. cities filed injunctions over references to real murder cases in their jurisdictions. Copyright suits from other studios piled up. The chaos peaked when Sly De Niro was charged with jury tampering during the trial of a Manson family member accused of attempting to assassinate President Harold Ford. In 1976, De Niro was convicted and sentenced to prison. That was the end. Or so it seemed. The studio shelved Funk City Heat, Jive City Pictures collapsed into bankruptcy, and in 1977, the courts ordered every copy of the film destroyed. A movie erased from existence. Ryan De Palma vanished from public life, later resurfacing as a boundary-pushing MTV video director before dying in a bizarre plumbing accident. Because, of course he did. But one thing survived: the soundtrack. Contracted separately to composer-producer G.P. Stone Sr. and Polyestersoundmachine, the music escaped the destruction order. For a moment, it looked like the story might still have a happy ending. More lawsuits followed, settlements were reached, and then silence. Internal tensions within Polyestersoundmachine and lingering controversy kept the album locked away for decades, until 2025. When the story took a new twist. With the death of Corduroy Slim, the band's final surviving member, a secret surfaced. Polyestersoundmachine had created a tontine. The soundtrack could only be released after every member was dead. Half a century later, the music was finally free. And what music it is. From the cold open of prologue Gemini's Gambit, we step straight into Funk City's grimy streets beside Inspector Harrison and his nemesis Gemini. Action pieces like Car Chase and Showdown at Gemini's Lair pulse with urgency, while Reconnaissance and The House on the Hill sink into deep noir shadow. Set Up the Sting struts with pure funk swagger. Cowboy strip bar drifts through surreal, smoky mood. Dialogue fragments and seamless transitions create the feeling of a film that no longer exists. A ghost movie, playing only in sound. You can't help but wonder what might have been. Could the album have saved the band from breaking apart in 1978? Would it have become a cult classic or vanished into obscurity? With much of their catalogue lost to time and fire and bad decisions, this release feels less like nostalgia and more like a recovery. A signal finally reaching us from 1976. When the tontine was uncovered, the families chose to honor it. The tapes reached Handjiverecords, and the label's reaction was a single word: gas. That's probably not how he said it, but, gas. And so, after more than 50 years, the Funk City Heat soundtrack finally reaches us. A gloriously strange, deeply funky artifact from one of cinema's most chaotic near misses. Love, loss, betrayal, action, drama, gas indeed.